have an age difference. We have life differences.
This is how you should live your life.
I got the faith, because to get the faith,
Got it. Well, let's jump into this.
this is the Old School, New School podcast.
Five, four, three, two, one, and it is Will Egan.
yes, this is my podcast. It's just as much your podcast.
Well, thank you, Daddy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming to watch. My name is Will Charles Egan, and as always,
Chris Mickens.
this is our podcast. I'll change
Yes.
the name so
Yeah.
that you're in here as
I
well.
know. All my friends are looking it up. They're like, you gotta know. Some kids got it.
It's Will Egan's podcast.
It's just like the rest of my family. You know, as long as I'm paying for it, you know, Will let me do whatever I want.
Yes, that's right. Well, I appreciate you funding this whole
Yes,
project.
yes.
It's-
Remax Alliance.
Yeah,
Anyway.
at the very least, I should be acknowledging you in the description here. But
Well, and my car wash, Coast to Coast, supports us.
yeah, Coast number 2 Coast.
Yes.
Very nice.
And it's going well.
It is going well.
Yeah, it's going much better.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
we've
good.
got a steady flow of customers. We've got our price right. We've got the
Nice.
right kind of customers. We've got people that in Florida, it gets warm in the summer.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
And, you know, you go to one of these express car washes and you got to vacuum yourself. And for a couple more dollars,
Yeah.
you come over to my place and I've got 8 people cleaning your car. You go inside the air conditioning, they clean it, wash it, wipe it dry, clean the windows, and you drive away. And especially people my age are like, yeah, I'll spend the extra couple bucks.
So what I'm hearing is that this podcast is sponsored by Coast to Coast.
Well, I guess maybe that's what we're
More or
doing. But does that
less.
mean I have to pay you some money then?
You have to pay me money,
Oh, my
right?
gosh. Well, I do think that one of the so remember I talked about my vision a couple
Yep.
weeks ago, months or 2 ago. So practical and being practical, my wife kicks. You know, that's why
Yes.
you get married.
That's why you get married, right?
You get reason and practicality.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, I want to buy a building. We'll have this thing.
Yes.
We'll call it the gatekeeper shop, and for men wanting to blah blah blah.
Right. I remember that.
She says no.
No.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
how women are.
Right.
I mean, she's earned the right to just say no.
Good.
But then I push back.
And you're like, oh, I don't want to.
She says, okay, well, here, sell the car wash first.
Okay.
Well, then you got to, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
process.
here's the thing. Why don't I just have it at the car wash? We close at 5:30. I've got this building. I got this lobby
Yeah.
that can seat 18, 20 people, and we can hang out there, and it's already covered.
Well, great.
Maybe
Maybe just do
this
it there.
is why I have it. So I'm starting in June. I'm going to start my new ministry called Six
Yep.
for veterans, firefighters, and policemen.
Awesome. Cool.
To talk about, why they're so messed up. No,
Right.
I mean, it's a group of people that have to deal with like life.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the ones that go in when everybody else is going out. They're the ones that, like policemen. I mean, they have I would hate being. Could you imagine going in at nighttime? There's someone in there with a gun, and you need to go find them.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I like my podcast. I think that's hard enough.
We'll talk about those kind of things.
Yeah, we'll talk
And how
about
do you
it.
overcome those fears?
See, that's where you come in, because you can sponsor an area where they can cultivate that, and clearly it works.
And so the same thing with the firefighter. You got someone going in there like, yeah, I know it's going to go, but we need to protect the other houses that are in there. So we want you to go crawl in there on your hands and knees, and in the fire you can't see anything. In a real fire, you see nothing, and and go down into the basement, which is like a kiln.
Yeah.
And there's a fire in that back corner, and go find it. Or how are you going to find it? Just look for a glow, okay? And feel the heat, and go back there and put it out.
And how many times do you think you did that?
A couple
times.
A couple times. And so, but here's the funny thing: police and fire and veterans will, for the most part, will not talk about those kind of things unless they're with other police, fire, and veterans. And then they're like, yeah, you should have seen where we were last night, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking, and someone walks up, and they say, oh, hi, how, what you guys, did you sleep all night last night? And you're like, oh, yeah, we slept all night.
Yeah.
Just it shuts down.
Yeah. No, sure, we were fine.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so
No, I
that's what's going on.
understand.
Why did I share that?
Well, because work can be hard sometimes. For some people, it's extremely difficult. But that's what we were made to do.
Right.
Is we were made on this earth.
You're getting good.
I am getting good. Thank you very much.
We decided, like, we were going to talk about.
Yeah, the creation. Last week we were saying, well, why don't we talk about the creation story in Genesis? I'm like, all right. And one of my favorite aspects of the creation story in the beginning of Genesis is the role of work. And people go, well, what do you mean the role of work? Now, when you think of like traditional ideas of what heaven looked like, you think of like fluffy white clouds and
Right.
blue sky, and it's this kind of place where you float around in this mist for all of eternity. It's like, that's heaven, right? Wrong.
Wrong.
That is not actually where people were originally created to go. The beginning, the Garden of Eden, at the very beginning of Genesis, there is a description of what exactly they did. And mind you, again, there's no fluffy white clouds and there's no floating around in the sky. They're in a garden. There's plants, there's animals, there's birds and trees, and there's fruit and stuff. And that's what heaven, or not heaven, paradise, that's what paradise was. And they had things to do. So another thing that people kind of go like, what? When they think of heaven is, well, no, there was work. There was they had to sow seeds, and they had to do yard work, and they had certain specific tasks in paradise. It's like, you mean to tell me that there's work even in paradise? So work never escapes you? So the things that always get you, death, taxes, and work? Because it's like, so you're telling me even after I die there's going to be work? Just listen to this.
Listen to the whole story.
Right. In Genesis 1, in verse 28 here, it says, and God blessed them, Adam and Eve, and God said to them, first job, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. So their first job is to, have kids, make more of you. And then it says right after, and subdue it, subdue the earth, rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, and every other living thing that moves on the earth. So their job is to go out among the world and to, quote, subdue it. You can change, God is telling them in paradise, you can change the world, you can morph, you can shape it to your own will. Because God trusts us. He's giving us this gracious gift, which is what it is, of work. And he's telling you, take what you have and change it to however you want this world to look, because I trust you.
So, you could chop down a tree and make it into a house?
Yeah. He's telling that's exactly what he wants you to do. Subdue the earth.
You can raise these plants and get some strawberries and have strawberry shortcake?
Yeah.
You can
By all means.
go over there and found that cow that you named,
Yeah.
milk it, and make ice cream?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what we were created to do.
Okay.
And initially, work wasn't a bad thing. But after the fall, after, they ate from the forbidden fruit, they were told that the work of their hands would be laborious, that they would toil over their crops, that there would be back-breaking labor. So before, the work that they were commanded to do was a blessed thing. It was enjoyable. They would enjoy the fruits of their labor. But now it says that you will toil for your work. You will, you'll have pains for the thing that once was paradise. Initially, the work wasn't supposed to be a thing where you come home, you drop your bag, and you just go, what a hard day of work. It was supposed to be an enjoyable thing.
Okay.
And now, because of our sin nature, it has become a thing of burden. It doesn't have to be, though.
Okay, good.
This is the crazy
I
thing.
was making sure you didn't go down the path.
No. You should quit your job. No. But that is what we as people have made work to be. We have taken it and changed what the definition of work is. And then here in, again, chapter 2, verse 15, then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and keep it. And so that's what Genesis says about work, is that it's this thing that was a blessing to us, that we were given the opportunity to, it's crazy to me if you think about it. God made the world. He made it a very certain way, And then he put us, his masterful creation, in the garden. He said, I trust you so much, I'm going to let you change what I made. Like, that's trust.
Well,
and that's the role that we were given.
and I would think that Adam and Eve still had to eat, right?
did.
I mean, it didn't say that they were like, manna fell from heaven.
Right.
So while they were still in the garden, I was thinking the other day when I was listening to it when I was trying to go to sleep.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you always do that.
I wonder how long. I mean, it doesn't say how long they were in there. I mean, they could have been in there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Bible's like, the whole universe, the whole world was made in 7 days.
Right.
The way the Bible
Right.
reads.
And then after the fall, it was like 35
words
later.
Yeah. And then 40 minutes later, not Moses.
Cain and Abel.
No. Yeah.
Jacob.
Cain and Abel. Then the flood.
Right. Exactly.
Isn't it chapter 3 the flood came?
The flood, I believe, was a little bit later than that. The
Oh,
flood
no.
was
Cain and Abel was chapter 3. I
7.
think.
Chapter 7 was the flood.
Yeah. So in 7 chapters, you're already like, okay.
Pressing the restart button already. So what happened and how long was it?
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So let's talk about work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to establish something before we go to the guidelines, because I know what kind of a sexist you are.
That's me, of course.
Will has not been married before. And if he keeps it up, he'll never be married again. No.
I'll never be married.
So sometimes people say women have a different role than men in work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, biologically, we have 2 different roles.
Yes. Yeah.
Men are male,
Really?
X chromosome,
I believe so.
and women are Y.
XY.
XY.
I think
something
so.
like that.
I'm not a scientist.
We're different.
Right. We're different.
There's science to this.
There's stuff that you do that's different.
But they're different biologically.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Right.
And then in the garden, it doesn't really say what their role was. Although Adam, when they left the garden, he was to work the ground.
Yeah, he was to provide for the food.
But it said your job's going to be really hard.
Yes.
You're going to be sweating your tail off.
Right. Nice save.
Nice save. You're going to be sweating your tail off. That's why we have a full service car wash at
Take care of it
Coast
for
Car
you.
Wash. We'll take care of it for you. No. So they and a woman's role was whatever. And you think of the stories you hear about the cavemen and all that other stuff. Men were gatherers and women were providers. Providers.
Yeah.
Is that
providers? Sure. It's a good word.
And so they would go and take care of the home. I don't want a home, but camp or whatever.
Right.
The children.
Yes.
They would make the food. Which let me just tell you something.
Okay.
People are like, well, that's the easier job. I watched her kids once for 4.
Oh, right.
All 4 kids while my wife went on a mission trip.
Uh-huh.
So Chris went with her. So 3 kids. She was like, well, I can't go. I'm like, you can go. She's like, no, I can't go. I can't leave you with kids. I'm like a fireman. I've been a fireman.
Got it.
I got this. Well, every night I'm calling up. I'm like, why did you do this? Why did you?
Why didn't you tell me? I did.
I mean, it's so much more difficult
Yes.
than anybody can realize.
Yes.
I mean, because it never stops.
Right.
Like they poop their pants.
Right.
They want to be fed.
Oh, God.
They want to be nurtured.
Oh, jeez.
They want to play.
Ew.
Yeah.
Gross.
I know. And then when you
What?
get done playing with them for the last 8 hours, now I got to cook for them.
Oh, God.
And then clean up after them.
Oh,
and
no.
then some old man comes walking in going, "Hey, let's get it on, woman." Okay? I mean, to be a woman
Right.
is a lot harder than being a man.
Yes.
A man goes, okay, I'm going to go work for 8 hours, but I'm staying there talking with my buddies. We're staying at the fire station.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm at the fire station.
I'm working really hard right now.
What are you doing? Well, we were making dinner. What do you have? We got spaghetti and sausage
Chili.
and meatballs, and then we made a cake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we had to go on this run, and some guy had a heart attack, and he died. But, that's cool.
We do that.
We left him at the hospital.
Yeah.
And then we're hanging out, and I'm reading a book. I'd read a book a week.
That's awesome.
When I was there, it was like
So
the
awesome.
most amazing job
Oh,
I ever
man.
wanted. And I'm like, I'm really exhausted. You need to, and while she's taking all by herself, taking care of 4 kids.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that you're not thinking that we're saying one job is, they're different.
They're different, yes.
And in a lot of homes, sometimes the man is the better nurturer than the woman.
Really?
And sometimes, and other times it's not. But there's my son up in Cleveland. He's the nurturer. I mean, his wife is great. She's a hard worker. She's a policeman. She's, she's like a great mom. I mean, but he cooks. I don't think he cleans.
She's
but
better.
But he's like with the kids. She goes to the police station. She can't miss work. But he's like got more of a nurturing. I hope this isn't offending her.
It's not.
I don't think
Hopefully
so.
not.
No. I mean, because she knows who she is.
Right. They have different roles.
I mean, she's a badass.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
for
you don't want
sure.
to mess with
Exactly.
You don't want to mess with her. So you can take different roles. In my house, I'm the nurturer. Don't you see that? I mean,
clearly, of course, you, Chris, are the nurturer.
yeah. No, Joyce used to play with the kids all the time. But here's the thing: when it comes to work, Joyce is a strategic thinker. If you had to pick either one of us to be your employee, you would pick Joyce.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't even be, especially if you like, I need a man. You'd be like, no, why don't you go home and send your wife? Because she just has a different mindset. I'm more about the relationship.
Okay.
And most jobs, they want you to come to work. They don't need
do the
somebody
work.
to stand around and talk at the water cooler like you do.
Like
all
me.
day long.
That's what I do. It's funny. I was at work the other day, and one of my friends, she was like, "You're never at your desk." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm at my desk a lot." She's like, "Every time I come over, you're not at your desk." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." All right. It's like, I am too. No, you're not. But yeah, no, there's different roles and different relationships. And then there's, of course, if it's like, well, I don't want to offend anybody, because there's like the traditional roles, like the man
and
goes.
There's women that I want to grow up, I want to get married,
Yes.
I want to raise a family,
Yes.
and I want to stay home,
Yeah.
and I want to cook for my man.
Fine, great.
They don't live in my houses.
No.
None of my kids.
Well, then, because then there's your son who's got the more of the nurturing relationship with the kids, and that's fine.
And my son that's a pastor, his wife is a scientist, and she's like she's another amazing.
Wow.
My family, they all married up.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And she's like she knows how to work. She knows how to manage people, and so just to start off with, there's no roles in this. We're not talking as a man of the house,
Right.
Although there are different sexes. And
Yes.
men have a bent towards a certain thing, and women,
Typically.
but when it comes to decisions and all that, another whole subject.
Right.
We're not going on that.
No.
So let's go back to work.
We're talking about work.
Okay.
Right. Well, that's really good, because, everybody was created.
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
No. I don't know where that came from, but everybody was created to work. Everybody has a different role. If you were to, I think, put me in a fire truck, if I were steering a fire truck, I'd probably kill 3 people in the process instead of save lives. I would probably end up killing people. If I were
But
in a
you'd
fire
look
truck.
good doing it.
It would look fun, I'm sure, with my hair and everything. But I'm not equipped to drive the big red truck, as you say. Like that's something that requires extreme skill and a proclivity towards it. And so with Adam, he had the proclivity for tilling the ground.
There you go. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And Eve had the proclivity for, nurturing and raising the kids for, obvious reasons. She birthed a kid. There's breastfeeding. There is just the natural, physical providing. And then that's just how men are. I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. Men are naturally stronger, percentage-wise. They have more muscle mass.
We'll fight that one. Yes, that's the truth.
That's just correct.
That's
actually,
just correct.
That's statistically correct. But that's where the man will toil and labor for the provision. These are where these natural roles come from, obviously, and they're right here from the beginning.
But that was a different world then, because it was a hunt and gather and
survive.
farm, and someone had to be the hunter and someone had to be the gatherer.
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
True.
Where now we're like, okay, we live in a different society where
It's different.
your brain and you use your brain.
Yeah, you use your brain to work now.
Yeah.
Before it was just you can be a caveman and
smart people or dead people.
no, yeah, exactly. You would dig a hole, and that would be the extent of your wisdom. Is I know how to dig a hole. Now you can pontificate and scratch your beard, and go and you can make money off of it.
I could buy this stock.
Yeah, right.
From LifeSurge.
From LifeSurge, I could invest in this real estate property and wholesale this. So yeah, obviously,
and never walk in the house. So
right.
It's a different world.
Yes.
Okay.
We have different responsibilities.
So let's move to the second point. Is like, but if you need to provide for yourself, our work is to provide food for ourselves.
Yeah.
We just happen to live in a country where there's overabundance. Mm-hmm. So I only need to work 35 hours, or I only need to work 45 hours. Mm-hmm. Some people need to work 60 hours. Yeah. Some people around the world work from sunrise to sunset 7 days a week. Yeah. Just to provide for their family. Right. And so the Bible talks about in 1 Timothy 5:8, but if anyone does not provide for his relatives, it doesn't say.
Ooh. What translation is that?
It's in the
Chat GPT version.
Chat GPT. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever.
Is that a proverb? That reads like a proverb.
That's 1 Timothy 5:8.
Really? Yeah. Interesting.
And work is tied to spiritual responsibility. And so the point being is that go back to the beginning. Yeah. God designed us to work. Yeah. And there's something that happens in us. Right. That whether call it pride or self-esteem or whatever.
Things that we have.
That when you come out of work, you're like, oh yeah, I just worked all day long, and I'm going to go out to dinner because I got a couple extra bucks, and I'm going to go, take my friends to dinner or whatever. Yeah. And so, but it's really to provide for your family. Mm-hmm. So you see people that say, I want to have a family and I want to have this house, but I don't want to work for it. Right. And so there's a unbiblical.
Well, the reason why is because we have this idea that paradise is sitting on some beach somewhere in Tahiti with my toes in the sand and a pina colada being refilled without me having to even lift a finger as I stare off into the horizon. Right. That's paradise, right? Right. I don't ever have to work anymore. I can just be a slug on the beach and just rot. No. Even again, the point of this whole podcast being, even in paradise, in the literal perfect creation, there was work to be done. So paradise is not this like free roaming ethereal mist where you can just pontificate or you can just relax all day. It's like, no, there's a job to be done.
Actually, it's poison to your body.
That's very bad for you.
I mean, once you retire, you're like,
what now?
Oh crap.
Golf again?
Can I get that job back?
Yes.
There will be a day that you're like, I wish I had something
to do,
or someone needed me, or at least I had some kind of purpose.
See, that's what's big is we were created. Obviously, a big purpose is like your family and you have your offspring and, your relationship with God and who I am that God says. But on this world, our purpose is often what we do, right? And it doesn't define who I am. Right.
And there is people that...
Yes, my work defines me.
Yes.
But a lot of the times what we leave behind, if you leave an inheritance for your family, as Proverbs often say, or as Timothy says there, if you're providing for your family, what we do, what we leave for the world, oftentimes is a purpose with our hands. Not a purpose for my soul, but a purpose for my hands. Because lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Proverbs 10:4. So that's ChatGPT for you. But that's the whole idea, even again from paradise, is that there was things to be done, and you'll find one day when you retire, if you do retire a little bit earlier, a lot of the times, you hear from so many people that have retired, where it's like, I can only play golf so many times before I am just bored. There's nothing to do. Mm-hmm. Even if I didn't enjoy my job every single day, it was something to do. It was purpose for my day. And that is a godly gift.
Well, look at it also from the standpoint of when I'm out in the public,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm out at my job,
Mm-hmm.
I heard this one's saying, it kind of goes, I am a firefighter. I am a
If only Joyce were here.
I'm a witness for Christ.
You're a firefighting witness for Christ.
I'm a witness for Christ, cleverly disguised as a firefighter.
Got it. That's what it means.
And so I go out there, and that I'm in the world. It gives me something to be with other people with.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, they go, oh, what? Why are you different? I mean, you sat around the phone. I can't tell you how many discussions about spiritual things we had over the years.
Yeah.
I'm sure at your work, there's every once in a while, that comes up, although you are supposed to be working for 8 hours.
Yes.
Firefighters sit around and talk, and then you're living chaos. But being a witness, you're also going into the world, and so God uses your job as your platform. Now there are people that are lazy and they don't want to do their work; they just want to walk around and tell people about Jesus, and they're like, people are like, well, I got to do your job because you were standing around talking with people about Jesus all day long.
People can't relate to that because one of the biggest things, I love the phrase, you're in the world but not of the world, right? Like, you're in the world, I have a job, I have a family, I do the human being life, but I'm not of the world. Ultimately, I am a citizen of heaven. Right. I witness the gospel. So people can connect to you because you're in the world. Right. You have a job like everybody else. You live life like everybody else, but you're not of the world. Ultimately, I have a higher calling and a higher purpose. So, yeah, your job makes for, you being a human. Because if you were to just, again, sit around pontificate all day and then try and connect to people, you'd have nothing to connect over. You aren't living life.
And people are... They get bitter. They're like, hey, you talk like you're a Christian, but you certainly don't act like a Christian.
That's big.
And so it's really important that you be a good worker.
Mm-hmm.
The verse, why do you think they brought up Proverbs 12:24, where it says, diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor? What I'll say this first is that I think when you're lazy, you end up having to do things that you don't want to do.
Procrastinating, you put it off.
And then you're like, oh, crap, now I got to take this second job because I forgot to pay my mortgage.
Ooh.
And we didn't do this or didn't do that. Do you think that that's kind of what it's referring for, or what do you think?
Well, a lot of Proverbs are very practical financial wisdom, so that certainly makes sense. But my mind immediately went to even was when the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt. Diligent hands will rule, but laziness ends in forced labor. Not to say that they were being lazy and that's why they got enslaved, but I know that when they were wandering in the desert a lot, they were like, oh, it would just be better to go back to Egypt when we were enslaved because we knew that we had a roof over heads. We knew that we would be fed. We just knew it was still tyranny and oppression, but at least we had it's like, no. That's spiritual contentment. That's coping. That's laziness, right? Okay. So if you were to just kind of throw it all to the wind and just say, oh, screw all this hard work. I wish that I was under oppression because I knew it was familiar and it was easy. It's like, no, that's not how we were called to live. We were inherently made to work because, we're ultimately made to worship God, right? That's what we were created for. Is to give back to God what he's given us. That's worship.
Isn't there that verse that says, whatever you do for the... See, we didn't have that written down.
No,
but whatever you do for the glory of the Lord.
Yeah, it's Colossians 3:23 and 24. It says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord.
It is there. I didn't even look any further.
Yeah, right, Chris. It's right there.
It's probably where it came into my mind.
You just didn't realize it.
I didn't realize it.
But yeah, do everything that you do
which
for
is
the
part
glory
of worship.
Of the Lord. Which is part of worship. Yes, your work can be worshiping to God. Because, if we're tending to the garden, we are doing what we were created to do. A big part of what you hear a lot of, because not only people worship, but like the creation, plants and the birds, they all worship God as well. How is it? I've heard it said a lot that they worship God in doing what they were created to do. If you do what you were created to do well, and you do it with diligence, if you work heartily, that's a form of worship to God, because that is So you're singing the praises to God through your actions because you're glorifying God by, look at me. I am stewarding my God-given desires well. I'm pointing my work back to God because I was made to do this effectively. And so do what you do, even if you feel like not doing it. Do what you do well because it's all for the glory of God.
Time out.
What's up? Uh-huh.
Okay, well, let's just say we're listening to someone. They're like, but I hate being at work. Mm-hmm. I hate doing this. I hate doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I hate saying this, but you're going to have to change. How do you change when you're like, I just don't want to be here? Yeah. I have to be here because maybe I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
Or maybe I have to be here. Mm-hmm. How does one become a better worker? 'Cause I've never figured that one out.
Really? What, and you're asking me, the 23-year-old, if I figured it out? Well, here's what I will say. I definitely struggled a lot with this when I was the young, ripe age of, I think I was 17. I had this job. It was my second job at Sweet Tomatoes. Remember Sweet Tomatoes, the salad buffet?
Yes.
I used to work there at the salad bar. I was like the salad bar.
It's so funny talking to you because I'm like, okay, this is a long time ago for me.
Yeah, well, this is pre-2020 because COVID murdered Sweet Tomatoes.
They tore it down.
They tore it. Well, it's still there. It's just...
No. It's got torn down.
Gone?
Yeah.
No way.
They're building something else there.
Probably Starbucks. But that Sweet Tomato, I used to grow up going there. It was crazy. And then I worked there. I hated that job. It was like one of the worst jobs I ever had. And I would often ask like my pastor and some of the adult leaders, like, what do I do? Why do I have to keep doing this? And I remember I read this book by Timothy Keller, Every Good Endeavor. And it talks a lot about this. You know, we were created to work. Work is an act of worship. One of the, and this isn't true for all situations, but one of the encouragements that I got was the parable of the talents. So a master gives four of his servants, I think it was three, but he gives some of his servants, three of his servants, some bags of money. One got one got 5, the other one got 10. Yeah. And so they were told to steward what they were given.
I'm sure they would give my wife 10 and they would have gave me 1. But
so that is the crux of it, is the master already knew who would do what with what. Right. So he gave the most reliable one more. He gave the least reliable one less because he knew the quality of the work that he would do. So, you know, you're stewarding what you have. The one guy that had the one bag of money, he just buried it in the ground to protect it. Which, I mean, he didn't even earn interest on the money from the bank or anything. And so he was called wicked. The guy who had been given 5 talents, 5 bags of money, got 5 more. The guy who had 10 bags of money, 10 talents, he got 10 more. And so the guy who earned the most, even though he was given the most, ended up being given more. And the guy who made the least, even though he was given less, was given nothing. And it's like, well, that's not fair because he started out with nothing. And it's like, well, here's the thing. Before this parable, if we're to imagine this parable of the talents as a story, before this story even took place, I'd imagine other things had happened to earn him only 1 talent and to earn the other guy 10 talents.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah.
Exactly. And so clearly, if you steward what you have well, wherever you're at, you will be entrusted with more. And again, it's not true for every circumstance, but a lot of the times in, you know, obvious things like a job, we get a promotion or we get a new position. That's one way that we can see this being given more. And so what I would say to somebody who hates their job, when I worked at Sweet Tomatoes, I hated it, but I would keep the mentality every single night that I'd close. I'm going to make sure that I don't shirk any responsibilities. I make sure everything's actually clean. I actually do my job. I go above and beyond because I know that God sees this. Yeah. And if I do with this well, I will be given more talents later.
I have an answer to my question.
Okay. I'm glad you have an answer to your own question.
Yes. So I might have shared this before. So when I was worked for the bricklayers, I was a part of the Union 310 in Cleveland, and you carried bricks all day long.
Woof.
And I mean, it was a small company, and you worked all day.
Oof.
You did not stop.
Wow.
You showed up 15, 20 minutes early,
Mm-hmm.
didn't get paid for it, and you stayed 15, 20 minutes later, did not get paid for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, you came home,
Yeah.
passed out.
Right.
So someone had told me about the test at the fire department. I took the test, blah, blah, blah. Passed the test, made third on the list.
Oh.
They were going to hire 5 people, and they didn't hire me. And they hired 5 people, and I was third. And I'm like, what happened? And then they're like, well, just things didn't work out, blah, blah, blah. Test expires. They give it again. I'm third on the list again. I've never passed a test in my life, okay? and I mean, when it comes to tests, I freak out.
Oh, yeah.
I totally freak out.
Oh, I don't blame you.
I
hated tests.
I mean, I failed giving my personal testimony at Bayside. They go, this is like really sucks. You need to figure that out. I'm like, oh, it's my story. But anyway, so I just do horrible. And they passed. They were going to hire 2 guys, and they were going to hire more guys, and they passed me again. And I was like, oh no, they were going to hire 1 guy, and they hired the 5th guy on the list. They passed me. So I was broken.
Yeah,
I was devastated.
You got overlooked.
And I was a new Christian. I was overlooked. I was devastated. And God did a work in me. God met me. And I prayed. I said, God, I don't know how to do this. And so that's the day that I really believe that was transformed my life. I was at a prayer meeting. I was just praying, shared with it before. And all I could get out of my mouth was God. And because I didn't know, I didn't have the tools to deal with this. Like I got these 2 kids, or 1.5 kids, 1.5 kids at the time. I didn't know, being a laborer. I mean, this was hard work. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, God, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And I felt like God was saying, you just go, you be like a Hebrew slave. You go be a Hebrew slave for Jesus. Wow. And I made a pledge to myself, my wife and I I'm going to carry bricks for Jesus. And if I got to carry bricks for Jesus for the rest of my life, then that's what I got to do. And I went into work, and I'm like, and I was okay. I was over the rejection. I was over this thing that happened. And fortunate for me, like 4 or 5 months later, they called me up and they said, hey, we made the decision. We're going to hire 1 more guy, and you can come in a week and a half and get the job. And it all changed. Hallelujah. But it's making a decision, saying, okay, Lord, where I'm at, I'll do whatever you want me to do for your glory. That's a long story to say. I did it for God's glory. Yeah. And that's what changed everything. Yeah. Because then I was able to go to work. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to go carry paint. I mean, I was built. You were like working out, dude. Yes. Piles of bricks, like they called them a hod. And there was like 12 bricks, and you would lift them up like all day long lift them up to the next guy. I mean, it was like crazy. Anyway, but you did it once you do it for the glory of God. Yep. Whatever you do for the glory of God, and then God all of a sudden works it out. Go figure.
Yes, He does. And that was going to be my point. Is the whole idea of like, well, I'm going to do this now because I'm expecting something better later. It's like, yeah, but that's not the end. The end goal is not so that I can get the multi-million job. The end goal is today. Because that's something you hear a lot in the Christian faith is you don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough to worry about itself. Right. Worry about today. Do what you're doing very well. Do it for the glory of God today.
You can do anything today. Exactly. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you can do anything for the next 2 hours. Right. I can pretty much do anything. Right. Just tomorrow, I don't know if I can do it. But guess what? Tomorrow's not here.
Take care today. Right? Do it for the glory of God today. God will figure out the rest in the future.
Okay, so then the next point was idleness leads to temptation and trouble. What does that mean? So that means if you sit around and do nothing, you're going to get in trouble, or what?
In a way. I mean, your mom might come and scold you, say you've been playing video games all day. You need to come out and do something.
Is that a problem with people your age?
Oh my God, you have no idea.
And I know just scrolling, I'll do some scrolling, and I'm like, oh my God, it was an hour.
Yeah. That's even worse. You know what? I stopped watching YouTube the past week. I've been so productive. It's been great. Yeah. I'll go through these phases where I'll just be like, all right, no more YouTube at all. I don't have Instagram on my phone or TikTok already. So it's just my last bastion is YouTube rabbit holes. I'll go down them all the time. And I'll get to the point where I've said this before. I'll suddenly like, how did I get here? I'll be like watching a video called Top 10 Sharks. I'm like, how did I end up at Top 10 Sharks? But it's a waste of my time. And I end up finding that as I'm wasting more and more of my time, I'm becoming lazier and lazier, and I'm just kind of sliding back into my couch. And as I do so, I let my guard down.
For men, this whole scrolling thing is, and I guess we could use this as idleness leads to temptation. Mm-hmm. You end up going, I don't have anything to do while I'm waiting outside the store for my wife at Home Goods, and you're scrolling, and then all of a sudden some nudie girls show up, you know, and you're like, you know.
Yes.
Praise God. That's not. I got other problems. That's not.
That's not one of your problems. Well, that's good.
But it can be.
It can be.
And I've been tempted along that way.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden you find yourself when you're idle, looking at wasting. It's fun. There's something about the reading and watching these Karens on TikTok.
No, you're wasting your time.
I mean, but it's like so much fun.
Right.
And you're
exactly.
like, are these people this stupid?
It's addicting.
And then next thing you know, you're like thinking, oh, the whole world's stupid. There's one of them right there.
You know what it is? I'll bet you 8 out of 10 of those stories you watch are not even real. Like they're probably staged, or it's made by AI, or it's fake. And so it's rage bait.
Pastor.
It's fake to make you mad.
What's that guy that preached today?
Louis Giglio.
No,
Bernard. Yeah.
He talked about AI.
Yeah, he did.
And it's tough.
Well, because
it's only going to get tougher.
It is. It's hard to distinguish with
and this
real
totally
news
goes with idleness.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it's hard to distinguish between real news and something that's intentionally made to rage bait you. So it's like a fishing hook of like, you should get angry at this thing, and it's not even real. And it suddenly makes you disappointed in the world, upset at this people group. It makes you look down at these people because I saw this video of this Karen yelling at this McDonald's. Turns out that's not a real video, and 99% of the white women that walk into McDonald's have a very pleasant experience. But you saw a video of one white chick walking into a McDonald's one time, and so you go, all white women in McDonald's are Karens. And you're like,
she was right in front of me.
Exactly. So now you have been rage baited.
I'm prepared when I go in.
And so now you've let your guard down, and you've let the temptation of anger come get you.
Wow. And that goes to the verse. Not busy at work, but busybodies.
Mm-hmm. Doing much ado about nothing is a Shakespeare play.
So, Joyce, I mean, everybody knows how much I love my wife.
Right.
I mean, we you know, I just think the world of her. I should probably tell her that every once in a while.
Right.
But I forgot what I was going to say now.
Busybodies.
She'll say you need to stop looking at that because it's getting your mind. Just like I'll go to the gym and I'll listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
I'll listen to music.
Yep.
I'll listen to this. She's like, how about you not listen to anything and just
That's what I do.
Get your mind.
It's great.
Let your brain think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I totally recommend it.
That's insane.
It is. It's psycho, but it's good for you.
Because what? Who can talk to you that time?
Well,
that's when the Holy Spirit.
That's exactly right. My thing is my gym time is kind of like a time of meditation, or I get to interact with other human beings. Oh, what do you know? I love talking to people at the gym. I love just thinking in the gym. It's my time to just unplug from my phone for 2 hours at most, and then.
Are you one of those people that stand in front of the machine and talk for like 45 minutes while I'm waiting for the machine?
I won't lie.
I can't stand.
I'll leave my water bottle and my towel on the machine, and then I'll go talk to my friend halfway across the gym, and then I'll come back and somebody's been eyeing it for like the past 5 minutes, and they're angry, and I'm like, sorry, I'm having fun today.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, old man, move on.
It's a patience lesson for you, sir.
Maybe we should talk about that.
What, patience?
Patience.
Yeah. Oh God.
So idleness leads to temptation. We've said that, and we live in a world that we have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
And so maybe say I'm going to do something productive. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm scared. I'm being honest. I'm not good with idleness. I mean,
you're a busybody?
I'm not a busybody. That sounds like I sit around and talk about other people.
No, it's like you're always busy.
Yeah.
You're always doing something.
Yeah. She's like, can we just sit on the porch and just be quiet?
You know what I did before this? Because you said I'll be available after 4. And so I was like, okay, I have an hour. I sat in my backyard, in my chair, and I just smoked a pipe, tobacco pipe, like a long Gandalf pipe I had, and it was nice. And that was all I did. I listened to a message. I smoked a pipe for 45 minutes, and it was an enjoyable experience.
Just had thoughts. It's a lot of times I'll go, I don't even know what I just listened to.
Right.
It's just something.
It's in one ear, out at the other.
Yeah, and so there's thoughts. So also, it will kind of wrap up with rest is also part of the design.
That's a good place to end.
While work is essential, so is rest. And so we were just talking about that. Exodus 29 through 10. 6 days you shall have labor, go back to the creation, and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. Work hard, but honor God's rhythm of rest and restoration. It's a biblical concept. Doesn't have to be on Sunday.
Not necessarily. Yes, some people start
like at the
week.
fire station. Sometimes you got to work on Sunday.
Yeah,
but you should take a day off.
Yes, Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. Well, this is after the creation has been finished. We all know this verse. It is, and by the seventh day God completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. God doesn't need to rest. God doesn't need sleep the way we do. But he rested. Why? Same question. Why did Jesus get baptized? John the Baptist said it himself. I don't need to baptize you. You should be baptizing me. I'm unworthy. Why did they do these things that they didn't need to do? As an example. They're showing us through their actions, which is the Christian faith through actions. This is what you should do, so I'm going to model it for you. God doesn't need to rest. Jesus doesn't need to be baptized per se, but they are doing it to show you if God does it, then you should do it too. And so God rests on the seventh day. We should be keeping the Sabbath holy as well. So what does it look like to keep the Sabbath holy? We want to end on that.
Well,
do you have a Sabbath, Chris?
I try not to do anything on Sundays. I mean, we do this. I don't count this as work.
No, yeah.
Someone legally, and Bernard talked about that. Legalism,
right?
We don't need legalism.
No.
But there's a day where you just go, you know what? We're just sitting around. We're just enjoying life and seeing and being with other people. I think there's the Sabbath really, for me, is like you're pulling everything together. You're like, okay, hey, we had a really good week this week. We did this well. This went well. You're able to have conversations. Joyce and I do a lot of talking. We spend a lot of time in conversation.
Awesome.
And so, it'll be a Sunday afternoon. Today we went to church, had great conversations with people.
Nice.
Came home, took a nap, and then we looked at this house. It was like $1.5 million.
Wow.
And in Florida, that's really nothing.
That's a new house that's
it's like
down the road. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Nice.
It was awesome.
Very
was
nice.
a sweet house. It was in one of these older developments, but it was 4,000 square feet.
Whoa.
Everything was new.
Cool.
But anyway, and that was fun. We just kind of walked around. We made the realtor work, but she was working anyway. And then we went to a guy that just became an American citizen after 25 years. The guy's my age, just became a citizen.
Was he just here on permanent work visas or something over
Yeah, he was a doctor. Dr.
Okay.
Mark, but he was a stem cell guy, so I'm sure, Trump's like, we'll take you.
Yeah, please. Yeah, that's right. He could pay the golden citizenship ticket, right?
Oh, he forgot to tell me he paid $5 million. No,
exactly.
I don't think he's been doing this for years. But anyway, it's just a day of just enjoying the relationships that the people that I'm with.
Yeah.
And nothing's sacred. I think of like Hobby Lobby. It's like crazy that they're closed on Sunday.
Chick-fil-A.
They're
losing tons of money.
But Hobby Lobby is a retail store, and most people can't go all week long.
Right.
And so they go on the weekend.
Yeah.
But they're like, no, we're closing.
We're a Christian
Oh, wait
company.
a minute. We're doing amazing.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
They do great.
They do great. Chick-fil-A.
They're
They
the
do
most successful fast food. Yeah.
Every time we were trying to not to eat Chick-fil-A because we read an article, fake news,
of
AI.
course. Yep.
And but then I'll go, I'm ready for some Chick-fil-A. It'll be a Sunday.
Yeah.
They're not
literally
open.
me this morning. I was driving home from church and I was like, You know what? Because it's for Christians. We have been to church and we think, oh, Jesus chicken. And then, oh, yeah, it's Sunday. They're
Sunday.
closed. No. So, but rest effectively, that's like an effective Sabbath is reflecting on your week.
And it's okay. I had a friend in one of our small groups who was like, yeah, he was raised in a home that, like, there was rules.
Yeah.
And there was no fishing. There was no nothing. I was like,
The heck?
that's like relaxing.
Yeah, that's relaxing.
And so he's down here now. And he's like, I go fishing every Sunday because that's the only day I have off.
Yes.
And I love it's so relaxing.
Oh, yeah.
So a Sabbath is really just saying, I'm just here to just unwind and whatever. But I think, go back to the beginning, that work, we're called to work. We're called as Christians to work. We're called to be a good witness at work.
Mm-hmm.
We're called to witness at work,
Yeah.
but do our job.
But do your job.
Because we were hired to work.
Don't waste your time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and don't waste other people's time.
Right.
Because they're like, hey, that's great, but guess what? Now I got to do your job because you were standing at the water cooler witnessing to Will all day long.
Yeah. Well, you can witness through doing a good job. You can say, Will's such an effective and diligent employee. How do you do it? Well, I believe God made work.
And it's like those athletes that go to the glory of God when they win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
To God be the glory. I do
Exactly.
it as an example. Oh, now that I did my work and you want to know how I did it,
Yep.
for Jesus.
Boom.
That's what you want to do every day for work.
Exactly. God made it to be a holy thing. Your work is a holy and good thing that can be used for the glory of God since the beginning of time.
Peace.
See you next week.